Okay, let's talk copyright. Copyright in 3D printing. I just watched Joel Telling's video on lawsuits in 3D printing. First, their lawsuits in Philadelphia don't mean anything. They have absolutely no relevance whatsoever. They're blowing smoke for your asses even talking about what's going on in Philadelphia. Because that's a defamation lawsuit, which has nothing to do with copyright and has nothing to do with even what they're doing. If I, as a large company, go online and say, you know, Joel Telling's a sleazy piece of shit and he should go suck this, and, you know, he rapes babies and stuff like that, and I have a position where I could actually harm Joel Telling by saying that, Joel Telling would have a case against me for defamation. Even if I'm actually accusing Joel Telling of doing something that's illegal, such as violating copyright. That's irrelevant. That's a separate issue from the defamation lawsuit, which has nothing to do with copyright whatsoever. So completely ignore everything they said about their lawsuits in Philadelphia regarding defamation. They mean nothing. Now, let's talk about copyright. I'm no expert. This is the way I see it. All right. The copyright would apply to the G-code or STL file you download. It does not apply to the print. Well, let me give you an example. This is Angus's tolerance tester. I printed on my CR10 here. Okay? Or, what's another example? You know, here's the Verne style rocket from Thingiverse. Okay? The copyright for the files for these things belong to their respective artists, their creators. Okay, this belongs to whoever the guy makes the Verne style rocket on Thingiverse, and this belongs to Angus. But this rocket is my property. This isn't a copyright, this is a piece of property. I own this. Okay? I own this tolerance tester. It belongs to me. Everyone that I print off that printer belongs to me. There's no question about that. This isn't literature or art. This is my property. My electricity, my printer, my plastic. Do I think it should be illegal for me to make copies of these and sell them? That's sticky. My instinct and gut wants to say yes, but tread carefully. Because, for example, I bought this off eBay. I bought this off eBay. An iCrap. You know, I bought this from China. Do I want the creators of these things being able to dictate to me that I cannot resell these when I am done with them? Because depending on how you go, that's what you're saying. It is my right to sell this. Don't get mad at me, Angus. Love your stuff, but it is my right to sell this because this is my property. And you cannot deprive me of my property rights. My property rights trump your copyright because my property rights are a God-given right, endowed by your creator, whatever you want to call it. They are my right. You cannot deprive me of my property without due process. Your copyright is a privilege that we grant people because it's better for society if people can actually profit from their work, and there's nothing wrong with that, but there needs to be a balance. Now, I do see a distinction between me printing out Angus's tolerance test. I'm done with it. Hey, you want this for $5? Nothing illegal about that. I don't think copyright should apply. I don't think a Creative Commons license should apply. Nothing should apply. This is my property. Licensing doesn't come into the issue. But what happens when I make 2 of them, or 3 of them, or 10 of them, or 30 of them? What happens when I turn a first right of sale of an item that I own into a business, and I'm actually mass duplicating this and selling it? That should be illegal. And that is what they are doing. It's weird. Some of the things that you get on Thingiverse, you cannot copyright. Like, for example, this little blower thingy for my CR10. I don't like it, the holes are too small. I think it's going to restrict the air too much. But anyway, you can't copyright this because it's a functional item. It's not art. It's not an expression. It's a function. Now, the Aria Dragon, that's art. No question about it. That's protected by copyright. And if they're duplicating that, they are in violation of copyright law. If they're duplicating this, they're not in violation of copyright law. Okay? And a Creative Commons license, whether it says you can or not, is copyright. So the courts are going to have to decide how far to push that. And I think we need to be careful not to push it too far. I'm in favor of protecting people who license their stuff on Thingiverse, that they should not be used commercially. But don't go too far. Don't give the creators, which would also include Apple and LG and Ford, if you have one of their cars, you need to be careful how far you push this, or you might end up with a whole lot more than you expected. So let's tread carefully. It's weird. It's because, think of it this way. If I went and bought 10 of these, can I sell them? If I went and bought 100 of these, can I sell them? If I went and bought 10,000 of these, can I sell them? Of course. They're my property. So, why is this different? You see what I mean? Now, the way I think we can attack this is that the STL file, I would consider that a piece of software, a piece of code, and that can be licensed. Okay? Now, when it comes to personal use, I don't recognize license. When I purchase a copy of Windows 7, I don't even acknowledge the license agreement from Microsoft. That disk is my property. The software on that disk is my property. The code on that disk is my property. For my own use. The moment I go and give that to somebody else, now it's not my property. Now it's Microsoft's intellectual property. So when I download this, it's my property. But if I start using that STL file to then give to other people the same thing, now I'm no longer dealing with my property, but Angus's intellectual property, and that should be protected. So I think the issue is not the 3D object, because the 3D object belongs to 3D Print, or whatever the hell the company name is of these scumbags. Go ahead, sue me. I own nothing. Have fun. You can have my debt. You're scumbags. So the selling of their objects isn't the violation. The usage of the STL file in violation of the license in which they agreed to when they downloaded that file is the violation. So they might be right. Is it a copyright violation, or is it a license contract violation? Because they're violating the license for the download of the software, the instructions to make this file. The actual selling of this is not the violation, with exceptions. The Aria Dragon is definitely a unique work of art. That would be a copyright violation. They are not allowed to sell that. This, on the other hand, maybe. Now, this is pretty unique, so this might qualify as an original work of art. This would not. Okay, so they wouldn't be able to copyright this. They would be able to copyright this, and they would be able to copyright the Aria Dragon. So that's a definite copyright violation. They're breaking the law by duplicating that dragon and selling it. Even if they took stereolithographic pictures of the dragon and then made their own STL file, it would be a copyright violation. Okay, so their violation has nothing to do with the Creative Commons license or the STL file they're downloading. It has to do with the Creative Commons license in regards to the usage of that STL file. That's their violation, because that's a license agreement they agreed to, and that is a copyrightable work. So very, very sticky. Don't go too far. Make sure we don't give manufacturers and big companies too much power, or we might come to regret it later. But we need to find a balanced way to stick it to these scumbags for, well, it's not stealing, but violating the license and rights of the people who made this stuff and putting their stuff on eBay. I mean, that's scummy. They're using someone else's work for a commercial endeavor, and there's a big difference between me making 1 or 2 of these and selling them when I'm done with them. Even an Aria Dragon, that would be legal for me to make an Aria Dragon and sell it, and then for me to go and put it up on a storefront and say I'll make anybody who wants one. That's not legal. That's But then you also have the other problem. It's perfectly legal for you to download and print the Aria Dragon, and it's perfectly legal for me to download the Aria Dragon, not have an S3D printer, hand it to Joel Telling and say, Joel, would you print this for me? And Joel says, sure, give me $30 for my time and materials to make it for you. That's legal. Okay, that does not violate the Creative Commons because I'm not using it commercially. I am asking for his services to print something for me. That's an end run around all these licenses on Thingiverse. What they can basically do is say, find what you want, download the file, send the file to us, and pay us to make it for you. That's no different than Shapeways. It'd be perfectly legal for you to download the Aria Dragon, send the file to Shapeways, and say, make me one. Now, if you said, make me 10, now you're bumping into commercial activity here, and that's in violation of the Creative Commons license that you agree to when you download that STL file. So that's different. So we got to be careful. We got to make sure that it's legal for me to download the Aria Dragon and hand the file to Joel Telling and say, make me one, and Joel Telling to charge me something to do that. But we also need to make sure it's not legal for Joel Telling to put up a shop that says, I'm going to make you anything you want, and I'm going to get around the copyright law by telling you to send me the file. You know, there's a difference between Shapeways that says, we'll make stuff for you, and someone who puts up listings of these items and says, we're going to sell them to you. We need to figure out what that distinction is and make sure these people can't do that without going so far as to give Apple the power to say you can't resell their devices, because that's exactly what Apple wants. Apple wants the power, and they've actually sued people to stop them from reselling their devices. Okay, that is not power we want them to have. So we must find a way of balancing these two things. 3D printing is probably going to require new law, and the government today likes making overzealous, over-controlling, overbearing laws, and we really don't want that. So what we need to do is to retain our rights and freedoms to make, sell, and offer services to make and sell, while not allowing people like 3D Print or whoever they are to do what they're doing, which is clearly immoral and wrong. So let's discuss that and find a balance.